Good evening, my name is Katarzyna Nowicka and welcome to Poland Daily News. Thousands of Poles are still protesting against the recent ruling of the Constitutional Tribunal regarding the country's new abortion laws. Protesters went to the streets throughout the country to show their dissatisfaction with the law passed on Thursday. Farmers joined the protest of pro-choice demonstrators in Warsaw.
The streets of the capital city of Warsaw have been blocked today since noon when the farmers' protest started. The protesters made blockades with their cars. They are against the animal protection bill, but also support women. Ladies and gentlemen, all of this is directed against the policies of the government, which does not stop to listen to its citizens. We do not agree with the policy of the government, which is led by only one man, without any talks or consultations. The National Women's Strike encouraged Poles to skip work today. The Warsaw City Hall, some companies and universities took part in it as well. The protesters against the ruling of the Constitutional Tribunal marched from the building of the Institute for Culture Ordo Juris to the building of the same, the lower chamber of parliament.
Żeby przesłanka eugeniczna była legalna, najważniejsze jest...
We want the eugenic reasoning to be legal again. Women already suffer enough, and if it turns out that a child would not survive birth, I cannot even imagine the pain, since I am a man. For women, it must be a horrible experience.
Ja jestem facetem. Mi ciężko to sobie nawet wyobrazić.
It would be best if it was entirely the woman's choice. The most important thing is the society's morale.
Edukację chociażby.
Jestem tutaj dla nas wszystkich, dla kobiet.
I'm here for all of us, for women. We want the women's situation to be better. I think it's been a long time since we were so united in our society. Our time has come.
Społeczeństwie i myślę, że to jest ten czas.
The daughter of President Duda, Kinga Duda, also expressed her opinion on the matter in a public statement on Twitter. She wrote that she found the previous compromise regarding abortion to be sufficient. At the same time, she stressed that some protesters use too violent methods for which there can be no allowance. Acts of vandalism, destruction of property, graffiti on churches and attacks on people who do not share the views of the more radical protesters. Protests have been taking place in several Polish cities, including Kraków, Łódź, Katowice, Wrocław, Lublin and more. The next big demonstration is planned for Friday in Warsaw.
Deputy Prime Minister Jarosław Kaczyński spoke out about the protests of pro-choice demonstrators taking place all over the country. In his speech, the president of the Law and Justice called the opposition criminals and accused them of being responsible for social unrest.
Dzisiaj z nami na sali wicepremier Jarosław Kaczyński.
Deputy Prime Minister Jaroslaw Kaczyński is here with us today. You are responsible for the security in Poland. Yesterday you called upon people to claim justice with their own hands. You spoke about building law and justice militia groups and sending them against protesters. Yesterday you spoke out against Polish citizens. This is not only deeply immoral, but it is also a serious crime against the Polish people and the Polish citizens. You will have to pay for this. You release provocateurs against the protesters, internal security agents drive into the protesters, no charges made. At the same time use the situation and want to charge the opposition MPs for fighting public television, for wanting the truth in Poland? Yes, we want the truth in Poland. We want the truth about the epidemic to be told. We want the truth in public television, here and now. Deputy Prime Minister, you are directly responsible for what is happening in Poland, and this blood is on your hands.
Tu padło szereg kłamliwych zarzutów.
A number of lying accusations have been made here, and they were made based on the principle of a complete falsification. You turned your back on the truth. The state of the epidemic does not allow for any public meetings of more than 5 people. Hundreds and thousands of demonstrations are being held at your persuasion, by your fault. I think that what is happening in this room shows your low level of political culture. You, in the name of your small, dirty interests, are tearing Poland apart. You are putting many people at risk of death. You are criminals. There is a crime in Poland of causing a common danger. You, calling for demonstrations, are calling for this kind of danger, and you will pay for this.
Powodujecie tego rodzaju niebezpieczeństwa i odpowiecie za to.
The Sejm adopted an amendment to the so-called COVID laws in a night vote. The project returned to the Sejm after consideration by the Senate, which proposed 41 amendments to the law. Some of them were rejected. According to the amendment, the doctors directed to fight the epidemic will receive allowances and will be released from criminal responsibility for their mistakes. MPs accepted the Senate proposal, stating that an allowance equivalent to 100% of the salary should be paid to all professionals involved in the treatment of COVID-19 patients or those suspected of infection. It is to be easier to employ specialist doctors in Poland who have obtained their professional qualifications outside the European Union. The amendment provides for fines for non-compliance with restrictions, for example on wearing masks, and allows for the refusal to sell to customers who do not cover their nose and mouth. Among the rejected amendments are the provision for the creation of a separate purpose-built fund for the purchase of tests for specific groups of people, as well as a proposal to create an assistance fund to finance the purchase of SARS-CoV-2 tests for healthcare workers, social workers, parents and guardians of children under the age of 1 and people over 60. The Ministry of Health reported on the current epidemiological situation in the country. Just in the last 24 hours, a record number of new infections and deaths was recorded. During the last 24 hours, 18,820 new cases of coronavirus infection were detected, as well as 236 new deaths. Since the outbreak of the epidemic, over 299,000 patients have been detected in Poland and 4,851 have died. That's all for tonight. Now on to Poland Daily Business with Aleksander Wierzejski and his guest. Good night.